had shown some early symptoms of having COVID, and on April 18th, I got the test results that I was positive for COVID. But I was really one of those asymptomatic cases. Woke up Saturday morning on May 16th. I had a headache. I decided to drive my daughter's car down to the local Goodyear store. And then I sat down in the lobby, and the manager was calling my name. And he said, "Mr. Wright, your car is ready." And I couldn't discern who was calling me. And all of a sudden, I think the manager said, "We're going to call the paramedics." Within a few minutes, I had 3 or 4 paramedics. So they said, "We think you're having a stroke." And they took me to Baptist. And I remember a physician telling me that I've had a stroke. And I remember going through the CT scan. And then from that point on, I woke up in an ICU later on.
Robert came into the ED directly to the CT scan and pretty much directly to our angio suite, where we go in through the groin with catheters, go all the way to the brain and remove the blood that is the blood clot is blocking the blood flow to his brain. So the stroke that Robert had is something that we call like a large vasocclusion. So it's the most deadly type of stroke, right? So one of the things that we notice is that patients that have COVID, they do have an increased tendency of having stroke. Now, stroke's not very common in patients with COVID. It's about 3% of the patients that are that have COVID that will actually develop a stroke. Thankfully, it's still a small number of patients with COVID that will develop a stroke, but there's definitely seems to be some sort of tendency on that. And I'm glad talking to Robert that, he's pretty much very close to being completely back to his baseline, in the sense that he's possibly like very soon to be, back doing all the activities that he was doing before he had it.
I'm very thankful that all things worked out together for my good. I'm thankful very much for having a professional team of medical staff to intervene and so that I could have a healthy rest of my life.